to Spill the Tea Lou. Welcome back to Teacup Castle. Welcome back to another transfer show. What is going to be one of the last transfer shows off the window. We're very nearly at the deadline, which happens on Tuesday, I believe at 5 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. So we don't have many transfer shows left of this summer, and I have to be honest, guys, I'm sorry, I'm not disappointed. I'm not disappointed. When the transfer window comes with all the excitement, all of the fun and games, I love it. I love all of the carrying on, all of the rumours, all of the fun stuff. But this transfer window just feels like the longest transfer window in the history of transfer windows. And I'm just so ready for it to be over. I want it to be the season. I want to see more football. I am sick of talking about rumours that might or might not happen. I enjoyed it. And now it's over. All good things come to an end, and it is coming to an end. I'm not even sure I can call it a good thing now after the window Man United have had. But we are going to be discussing, as you can see on the thumbnail, Joshua Zirkzee. We're also going to be speaking about Ndiaye. For anybody who was on the show with myself and Ashraf, we did touch on it. But I want to have a bit of a chat with the teacups. It's different when we have a guest. It's different when I'm interacting with somebody on a show with me compared to when I'm just interacting with you guys. So we're going to chat with you guys about that. A few other stories coming in, the Jack Grealish scenario, Cody Gakpo. We're going to get through all the stuff. We're going to get through all the stuff as much as we can, because honestly, the more of it we get out of the way, the better. Because later on, we've got football. Tomorrow, football. Sunday, football. Monday night, football. And then Tuesday, it's over. So we're going to do as much of it as we can today. And then we're going to avoid it. Soz, guys. For everybody who loves the transfers, it's nearly over. But before we get stuck into that, before I reach the end of my tether with the transfer window, let me say hello to the teacups. Let me just enjoy the people that matter here at Teacup Castle the most. Shout out to All Boxed Up, who has unboxed my impatience for this transfer window to be over, and of course the show. So thank you very much to All Boxed Up. Very much appreciated. I see. We have Daz, we have Rob, we have Danny, we have also got Shem in the house. I'm sure I saw Mama Flossie not long ago. There is also Tom. Hello to Tom. Yes, Shem was first in the house today, so he was. You've got a few firsts in a row now, Shem. You're rocking it, so you are. But all of the wonderful teacups are here this early afternoon. Thank you very much for joining. Please do remember to hit the like button for me, folks. It really does help the channel so much. Like, YouTube is messing with its algorithms at the minute. It's changing how the views work on videos. It's experimenting the way YouTube experiments. So the likes actually help me even more than ever, because genuinely, I don't know what they're doing. So the more help, the better. I would very much appreciate it. Let me just... Not just the mental kind. Help for me. Harold says, the King of Norway passed away last night or this morning. Ah, that's sad. Harold, was he... I thought he was a younger man. I thought he was maybe he wasn't. That's very sad. Oh, bloody hell, he was 89. I didn't realise he was that age. Ah. Rest in peace to him. Callum. Okay. All boxed up. Bloody hell. Football's going to get in the way when the transfer window is over. Who'd have thunk it? Yeah. I know. There we go. Okie dokes, guys. Let us get started on the transfer news. The first one we are going to discuss is Joshua Zirkzee. So, Fiorentina advancing, and this is from Laurie Whitwell, Fiorentina advancing in talks to sign Joshua Zirkzee on loan. If they're loaning him, they're not signing him, it's a loan. It just irritates me. Because when you read that, you go, oh, talks advancing to sign Joshua Zirkzee, wahey, and then you go on loan. No, so they're in talks to loan Joshua Zirkzee, not to sign him. Sorry. I know it's semantics. I know it might not annoy people, but it really, really, really bothers me. Because I got excited when I read the start of that sentence the first time, and then I realised it was only on a loan. Manchester United are open to letting Zirkzee leave. Oh, well, shiver me timbers, we're open to letting him leave. Loan with a buy option, which to be fair, makes no difference to us because even when it's an obligation, it doesn't mean much. So look, Fiorentina advancing to try and loan Joshua Zirkzee, we're not going to stand in the way of it. Essentially is where we're at. Fabrizio said similar, Fiorentina official bid for Joshua Zirkzee, currently being assessed by Man United and the players' camp. Zirkzee will decide his future soon. Man United will receive a €5 million loan fee and his whole salary covered with a buy option. Then we've got... No, that's all we've got for Zirkzee. I thought somebody else had come out, but that's the two. So we might maybe not stand in the way of a loan for a player we should be selling. I mean, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to feel about that, guys. I'm not really sure how I'm supposed to feel about that. He should be sold. Not only should we not be standing in his way, we should be pushing him towards the exit. We should have told him at the start of the summer. We should have told him before the end of the season, really. Look, you're really great, but it's not working out. Your agent needs to find you a new club and you need to actually move permanently. So, we might loan a player that we should be selling. And not only that, but we're not actively trying to loan him. We just don't really mind if he finds a loan for himself. We're not going to stop him. Guys, I'm struggling to express my emotions on this. Because when I see some of the players, the unwanted, unused, unsuccessful players that have been sold in this transfer window, for the money they've been sold for, and then I see this, and I'm like, and I'll be honest, I don't even think it's going to happen. Because unless Fiorentina push for it to happen, he stays, doesn't he? I don't know what I'm supposed to say about this because it is so unbelievably underwhelming. I'm struggling to find the words for how appalled I am by the state of our transfers. We let Ethan Wheatley go the other day. We're letting Toby Collier go. Toby Collier, who's a very good midfielder, who played for our first team, who played for the club that are trying to buy him and they actively really want him for €3 million. 1 to 3, I think. And now we don't mind if Fiorentina want to loan Zirkzee. And if they don't, that's okay, we'll keep him. And not have a backup striker. The level of incompetence is off the charts. They get worse by the day. Right? Before this window opened, we more or less said 5, 6, 7 signings. That's more or less what we said. We've got a backup keeper in Darlow. We've got Santos. We've got Tielemans. We've got Baleba now. We've got 3. 3.5. 3.5. 4 if you want to be generous with Darlow. We needed 6 or 7. And maybe Zirkzee's going to get a loan. We don't really mind. I know I'm repeating myself, guys. I'm aware that I'm repeating myself, but I just don't understand. I don't understand how incompetent you can be all at one time. Baffled. I'm going to come to your comments because I'm struggling to find the words. So I'm coming to you guys because I need help with this one. I need help. I don't actually have the words. Bakai Is there an L there? Is that, sorry. Bakayl. Sorry, my eyes, terrible. I don't think these are strong enough. I think I need new ones. But I was trying to see if there was an L there and I couldn't read it. So Bakayl, welcome. Thank you for subscribing. Says, Barcola was the final nil for me. So depressing as a United fan. I understand what you're saying. I don't necessarily mind Barcola because I don't know how I feel about him yet. And I don't necessarily mind not spending a fortune on a player that's somewhat of an unknown quantity. I can't understand. Michael Carrick doesn't play Joshua Zirkzee. Joshua Zirkzee doesn't work at Man United. We need a backup striker. We can't get one without moving Zirkzee on because that's what he was originally bought for. But we're not doing anything to try and move him on. Why are we not trying to move him on when he's taking a spot that we need to fill to be successful? It's beyond baffling. All Boxed Up says it's all weird regarding Man United. Yeah, it is. I feel like they're in the twilight zone. They are or I am, but somebody's in the twilight zone. We need a backup striker. Joshua Zirkzee was bought to do that, clearly can't, isn't rated by the manager, isn't being brought on, shouldn't be brought on, has had interest from multiple clubs in Italy where apparently, reportedly, he would like to go. He would give preference to Italy rather than a Premier League move. He has had interest from Juventus. He has had interest from Como. He initially had interest from Roma. And now Fiorentina. So 4 different clubs in a league he wants to play in have shown interest in him this summer. Not one of those deals has come to fruition. And Man United are like, that's okay, we don't mind. We don't mind going into the season with one striker who spent the whole summer injured. That's fine, we don't care. Champions League draw? Don't worry about it. We've got injured Benjamin Sesko and backup in Mbeumo and Cunha who aren't strikers. We don't need to move Zirkzee along. He can keep that seat warm. I can't wrap my head around why that would seem like an appropriate way to behave. Okay, I need to come back to the chat. Back to the chat. Back. It's cool. It's cool. It's fine. It's going to be fine. It's just football, guys. Doesn't matter. It's just football. Don't let it ruin your day. It's okay. Important. Self-talk's good. Rob says it bloody annoys me. Bloody annoys me too, Rob. I think that's a good way to put it. Danny says, sack Hargreaves and Wilcox in September. Sack them now. Don't wait till September. Get ahead of the curve. Just sack them now. What are they going to do between now and September anyway? So you might as well just sack them. Tom's algorithm is weird at the moment. Once you find Teacup Castle, I don't mind. No, that's okay. I'm more or less up to date. Mia's here. Hello, Mia. All Boxed Up says Leeds are being held up by domino effects and delays. Yeah. And that's the problem. It's like when you're buying or selling a house, you have to wait for the other people to buy or sell their house before you can move. It's like the full chain effect. So yeah, can happen sometimes when you're waiting on something to happen for something else to happen. We don't have that problem. We have multiple clubs that actively want Joshua Zirkzee throughout the window, and we've gone, we don't mind. If at the start of the window we had gone and said, you know what, you have got to go. You are not going to be played. You're no longer wanted. Thank you for being such a lovely person around the club. It's time for you to go. And then all these clubs came interested and they went, right, you've got your choice, pick one and we'll get the move done. Instead, we've gone, we don't mind. And he's gone, okay, then I'll stay. What is wrong with them? What is wrong with them? I hope with all of my heart that Fiorentina have a bit more fire than Manchester United and that they push for this deal, this loan deal, to get over the line, because if they don't, it won't happen, because our club is useless. So I am currently cheering on Fiorentina from the sidelines to get this deal done. Don't cry for me, Fiorentina. Please just buy Joshua Zirkzee or loan him. You know, I would love you to buy him, but at the very least, loan him. Just help me out here. So that is the story on Joshua Zirkzee and Man United. I think that's the extent of what I can say about it. Otherwise, steam might just come out my ears. It's what I've got, guys. That's what I've got on it. Sorry, I'm trying so bloody hard. Oh, Danny says, we need someone to get us a left back until September. I would otherwise. I don't think they're capable. If I thought they could get us a left back, I'd be like, all right. I don't think they can do that. I think if we get a left back, it's going to be Vivel. So I just get rid of them anyway. Tom says, when you worked in HR, Lou, would you fire someone who was useless or just ask them if they would like to leave? It's the same thing. Oh, believe me, Tom, when I worked in HR, if I was asking you, do you think it's a good idea that you continue to work here? That's probably about the time you should start looking for another job, because I would have already had these Egypts on a PIP, a performance improvement plan, and those come with time limits. So I don't know if anyone's ever had an experience with a performance improvement plan, but like when you sign up to a job, you're given a job description, your roles, and then you start, you're given like a starter pack, you're given some training, you're given like, these are your day-to-day activities, these are your targets. And then if you're not meeting your targets on a consistent basis, you have a meeting with somebody in HR and we go, can we help you to do your job, because apparently you're not as good as we thought you were when we hired you. So what can we do to make you be less shit? And they might say, do you know what? I feel like I'm struggling in this area. Give me some help, please. Or they might say, no, I think I'm flying. You're totally wrong. At which point you're starting to get rid of them. But most of the time, you put in time-limited things in place where you say, okay, this is what we're going to do to help you. These are the things we're going to change. These are the tools we're going to give you. Here's some extra training and supports. These are the exact results, measurable results that we expect to see by X date. If we do not see the improvement by X date, given all of the extra tools we're going to provide to you, at that point, you will be the subject of disciplinary action for being unable to do your job even when we're holding your hand, okay? And then they don't improve. And then you have another meeting and you give them an official warning for incompetence and inability to complete the role that they're being paid for. If that continues, they get sacked because they're not capable of doing the job that you're paying them for. You can literally sack people for being incompetent. It's not even that hard. So the short answer, Tom, is they would be gone so fast their feet wouldn't touch the ground. Dinesh in the house. Hello, Dinesh. Hello, Lucky as well. Mia, I never thought Lou was that ruthless. I'm not. I'm chill. I'm totally chill, Mia. I'm chill. I'm cool. I'm like a cucumber. What was it? What was it? Sparkly, I think is what Paz called me. Paz the creator. I was on, he does late night streams. They're good fun, guys. If you're ever in a loose end late at night, Paz the creator, he does like midnight streams. They're good fun. The chat's a laugh. And I believe last night I was called, I think it was Sparkly. Anyway, so yeah, I'm Sparkly. But yeah, not ruthless. Unless you annoy me, then I'm ruthless. Luke in the house, he says, bonjour. Who else have we got? Yes, Lucky. Glazer's out. Glazer's out is right, because bloody hell. Right, so for United fans at the moment, it's just wait and hope, really. Light some candles, get your granny to say a prayer. I don't know, wish upon a star. That's where Man United fans are at the moment. So moving on from that bundle of joy, we're going to speak about Jack Grealish, Ndiaye, Everton and Manchester City. Jack Grealish, according to Fabrizio Romano, in talks over Everton return as revealed yesterday. Sunderland are not involved. Manchester City have also suggested to Everton a possible deal involving Iliman Ndiaye. Ndiaye turned down 2 Saudi bids this summer as he wants to stay in the Premier League. We discussed that at the time. We said that speaks a lot to his character, that he wants to stay in the Premier League. He's obviously prioritising football over the financial gain. And we said we thought he would be a good shout for Arsenal, who he has been linked to. And last night, Ashraf said, no, not for us. I don't think he works with what we're trying to do. Well, that might be a good thing because apparently City might want him anyway. But there's the whole thing going on, and to be fair, Ben Jacobs has also come out and spoken about this. He's tweeted about it, but he's also spoken about it on live shows as well. He has said Manchester City are showing an interest in Everton attacker Iliman Ndiaye. Everton value Ndiaye at around £80 million. Ndiaye is also a name considered by Arsenal, whose dream target remains Julian Alvarez. He has also said that, and I've seen him say this out loud, that Sunderland had been mentioned, obviously by somebody, but both Fabrizio and Ben Jacobs have said Sunderland's not a thing. Like, that's not a thing, so just forget about that. We're going to go through all the sort of related stories and then we'll talk about them. Ben Jacobs has also said Chelsea's position is that there has been no direct or formal club contact yet, while City sources insist a deal is progressing for Enzo Fernandez. Chelsea's £120 million net price from earlier in the window no longer applies, and summer market valuations have risen, but they will evaluate a formal proposal once it arrives. Now, I've also seen Ben Jacobs speaking this morning, and he sort of said, look, it's very similar to Newcastle were saying about Bruno G. There's no formal contact, there's no club-to-club talks, but, you know, a lot of it was happening through intermediaries. So there was no technically direct contact, but there was contact. And that, look, sometimes clubs will just say this. So City insist the deal is progressing. Chelsea say there's been no formal club contact yet. That does not mean no contact, because that's very specific. No direct formal club contact. That is very specific. They have not said no contact. They have not said a deal is not progressing. They have not said a deal won't happen. They have not said that's it, the time limit is passed, it's not happening. What they've said is you have to pay more if you want him now because the deadline is passed. So that's all obviously tied together. And then Gianluca Di Marzio come out of Sky Sport and said Man City are still interested in pursuing Cody Gakpo and active on Enzo Fernandez deal, but have also explored conditions for Liverpool midfielder Alexi McAllister, as no breakthrough has been reached with Chelsea for Enzo yet, as things currently stand. So that was a new layer, I thought. And to be fair, it's Di Marzio. And he has said that they have also explored the options for Alexi McAllister if nothing happens with Enzo Fernandez, which I thought was highly interesting. So you've got the Ndiaye Grealish thing. You've got the Gakpo Spurs, Gakpo City thing. You've got the Enzo Fernandez thing. And apparently you've got an Alexi McAllister thing. So between City and Chelsea and the affected clubs, there's a lot of spinning plates. And depending just where one of them lands, this could be a grandstand finish. And what I will say is I feel like the last couple of transfer windows have sort of petered out. Like, you've got to deadline day and it hasn't felt like deadline day. It sort of felt like, do you know, like when you're getting to half time, the last few minutes of a half, normally the half just sort of dies out a little bit. That's how I felt the last transfer window was. For the most part, I wasn't sitting on deadline day going, oh, here we go, deal done, announcements everywhere. I was like, oh, okay, it's over. Like, when, I don't even know exactly when the line was. Do you know what I mean? This summer feels like in the next few days, we're in for an absolutely mad grandstand finish, because I've no idea. I've no idea where the chips are going to fall. What seems I think most certain of all of these things, I think Grealish probably does go back to Everton. He wanted to go back to them. They wanted to take him back. He stayed there to recover even when he was injured. He's only gone back to City sort of through the summer because the loan deal was over. I think he would be more than happy to go back, and I think they would be more than happy to send him back. So I think Jack Grealish to Everton feels like a thing. Ndiaye the other direction is interesting. It's a possibility because they need players in that position. I don't know how much credence I'm giving it. And obviously for it to be mentioned that, look, Arsenal, Ndiaye also a name considered by Arsenal whose dream target remains Alvarez. So if Arsenal don't get Alvarez, which is very possible, do they come in hot and heavy for Ndiaye? And if they do come in hot and heavy for Ndiaye, then do City push harder for Gakpo? Do Spurs end up with nobody? Because if Gakpo has a choice between City and Spurs, does he go City or does he go Spurs? I know Tonali had a choice between City and Spurs and he chose Spurs, but that was primarily because of the Italian connection with Zirkzee. That's not really going to be a factor for Cody Gakpo. So Cody Gakpo seemed, by all accounts, to have given his go-ahead to Spurs to move to them. That was before City expressed an interest. If City have now expressed an interest, does he have second thoughts about Spurs? So if Arsenal miss out on Alvarez, do they go for Ndiaye, who means do City then go in harder for Gakpo, which means Spurs end up with nobody? But if City can't get Enzo from Chelsea, apparently, according to these reports, they've looked at Alexi McAllister. If they want Alexi McAllister, they're probably not going to go for Gakpo because Liverpool are unlikely to sell them two players for unless it's mental, which means that Gakpo to Spurs might be back on, but even if they get McAllister instead of Enzo Fernandez, they still need a winger. So it's a little bit complicated at the minute, guys, between all of these clubs and deals. And I definitely think deadline day is going to be one to watch this summer, which I am quite excited about because I didn't like when it was just petering out the last few summers. I do think it's exciting when deadline day has a lot going on. So I'll be keeping my eyes peeled for all of the deals on deadline day. Imagine just none of them. Anti-climax, nothing happens. But there's a lot of strings there to detangle that are all related to each other. Flossie says deadline day should be interesting. I agree, Flossie. I think it's going to be a bit of a mad one. I hope it's going to be a bit of a mad one. United, man them in the house. Hello to you. I did a whole show last night, United Mandem, about Champions League and predictions. So if you want to check out last night's live stream, there was a whole hour on Champions League draw, reaction, thoughts, impressions. So do go check that out after the live stream. Let me see. All boxed up. And Flossie both having mad problems with the chat on YouTube. I told you they're changing things. Told you, start of the show. They're doing stuff, they're changing stuff on the algorithm with how views work and stuff. But I find when they touch anything, 5 other things mess up. Remember I was having all those problems and I said YouTube's definitely doing mad stuff? YouTube's definitely doing mad stuff. Every time they update something in the background, in the forefront, something goes wrong. So it's definitely a them thing. Jazz says, isn't it on Tuesday? Yes, Jazz, it is on Tuesday. That's why I said it's on Tuesday. That's how that is. It's on Tuesday, and that's why I said it's on Tuesday. It's like, really, that's how it works. Bonkers in the house who says, thought Toby Collier was going to Hull. Seems like West Brom are advancing. He was supposed to be going to Hull. That was very advanced. They had already put in a bid for him. Supposedly that was a whole thing. They had him on loan last season. He has previously been on loan at West Brom as well, though. I'm 90% sure he was on loan. Prior to being on loan at Hull, he was on loan at West Brom. And guys, here's the thing, right? Multiple of the teams that he has played for on loan want to buy him. And we're like, yeah, 3 million, please. Multiple teams that have previously had him, that know him, that like him, that rate him, want to buy him. And we're not like, well, if you really want him and you know what you're getting, that's an extra premium. We're like, no, 3 million, please, no problem. We're actually stupid. I think we are patients in here, whole box stuff. Bear with me a minute, guys. It's getting a bit warm in here. That was my little Man United rant, is making me roasting. But yeah, I think we might be patients. But yeah, so I think that's a lot of dominoes. So you were talking about dominoes, but I do think that is a lot of dominoes to fall, guys. Where do we think they land? As I said, I think the one that definitely happens, I definitely think Grealish goes to Everton. That one I definitely think happens, which means that City really need a winger. So I think it's a case of, do City go for this with Ndiaye? And if they start with Ndiaye, what do we think Arsenal do? Because I know Arsenal, it's been reported, Arsenal's interest or priority is Alvarez, but it's getting to the point now, there's 3 days left of the window. They either need to get him or not get him. If they feel that another option, as reported by the journalists, for them is Ndiaye, and they see that the Alvarez deal isn't progressing, and they see that City might go for Ndiaye, do Arsenal go, we can't afford to keep waiting for Alvarez, because if we don't get him and Ndiaye has already gone to City, who was our next target, where do we go? Do Arsenal abandon the Julian Alvarez chase because they can't afford to keep waiting and try and rival City for Ndiaye? Because they're the two teams that are reportedly interested at the minute. I'm also very interested in this McAllister thing because I haven't seen anybody else report it other than Di Marzio. But he has very clearly said, Manchester City have also explored conditions for Liverpool midfielder Alexi McAllister as no breakthrough has been reached with Chelsea for Enzo. That feels like a massive, massive thing that nobody else is talking about. And I'll be honest, I can see that. Not that I can see it, the move. I mean, I can see that. I think Alexi McAllister would be a better option than Enzo for what City need. Not like, it's not this player versus this player, how good they are in general. For what Manchester City need right now, I feel Alexi McAllister gives them that more than Enzo. But I haven't seen anyone else talking about this move, and I think it's really interesting. If this one was to happen, I'd be like, oh, I see that. I see the sense. Huge says, what a joke of a rivalry. Liverpool possibly selling 2 players to title rivals. That's where I think it won't happen. I think if there's anything in this McAllister deal, I think that means that Gakpo ends up going to Spurs. If Gakpo decides he wants City, does that mean City won't be able to get McAllister even if they want them to? Because I think it's really unlikely Liverpool sell 2 players to City. Maybe, but I mean, it would be nuts. I didn't think that 2 City players would go to Spurs, and they did. So anything's possible in this window. I agree, Huge. It feels a little odd. It feels a little, Patrick in the house, who says swap deals are very hard to get through. There's a lot of moving parts because you have to show that the deals are fair financially. The thing is, Patrick, we mentioned this yesterday. It doesn't necessarily have to go down for a swap deal. So we spoke about this in relation to the Nicholas Jackson deal. The time frame of the deals is only one criteria for deciding whether or not it's a swap deal. So even though Jackson is within 45 days, he's not being counted as a swap deal. So there's multiple criteria that UEFA look at. One of the criteria is if it could reasonably be considered that the purchase would have happened irrespective of the other deal. So if City say, well, look, Jack Grealish was at Everton last season. He's really liked at Everton. Everton have wanted to keep him. He stayed at Everton throughout the summer to do his recovery. It's very obvious Jack Grealish to Everton was a move that was very likely to happen since last summer. If they then argue, well, look, we have lost a number of wingers. We've only got 3. We were going to be in the market for a winger. It's very likely we would have bought Ndiaye, irrespective of whether Jack Grealish went to Everton or not. Then they can say these 2 deals are not a swap because they very likely would have happened independently of each other anyway. So they can say, well, look, even if Jack Grealish was going to Aston Villa, we likely would have bought Ndiaye. Therefore, it's not a swap deal in the sense because the players would have been bought or sold independently of each other. Now, I don't know all the criteria. I just know I was reading into it. There was an article put out around the Nicholas Jackson deal, and so I was reading into it. The time frame is only one criteria, and it seems to be the only criteria that people talk about because it's probably the easiest to understand. But the clubs can go to UEFA and say, this is our case to prove it's not a swap deal. These deals would have happened anyway, and then they will be, at UEFA's discretion, considered to be 2 separate deals rather than a swap deal. Let me see if I can find it quickly or easily. Sorry, guys, I'm just reading this to see if I can get it quickly. If not, we'll move on and I'll talk about it on another show. I should have just saved the article, but I thought you guys would be bored, so I was like, no, I'll just leave it. But no, and now it keeps coming off after I didn't save the article. So they have to prove that there's an independent commercial reality, which is essentially what I've just explained there. So yeah, they have to provide proof that there's independent commercial reality. So essentially that the 2 deals would have happened independent of each other regardless, and that there's nothing there linking the 2 deals whatsoever. And there has to be no cross conditionality. So it's not like if Everton decided not to go ahead with Jack Grealish, that City would still be willing to buy Ndiaye and vice versa. They have to prove that. Basically, they basically have to prove that it's not linked, that they would have happened anyway, which is essentially what I've already explained. And if they can prove that, they can go to UEFA and say, look, we don't want this to be a swap deal. So there we go. But Patrick says, so they could manipulate the criteria. I suppose it depends how easily manipulated the UEFA deciding people are about that. I mean, I imagine they have to provide a lot of information and a lot of proof. But I would imagine it has to be the exception, not the rule as such. And to be fair, I think regardless of what happens with Ndiaye, I think Grealish was going to Everton. I don't think that's crazy. So I think it's in that instance, I think that's a fair one to say. Those are independent of each other. Because I think whether Ndiaye goes to City or Arsenal or stays at Everton, I think Jack Grealish goes to Everton. So to me, that tells me those deals are independent. If one of them's going to happen regardless and the other one's only a maybe, I think those are independent. Now, the Nicholas Jackson one, I would have more question marks about how independent that one was, but I'm not on the body, so I can't say. Maybe they provided loads of proof. But yeah, to be fair, it's a good one because nobody really seems to talk about it. Nobody ever really seems to talk about that. And it's an important thing, I think, because I didn't know about it until I saw that one singular article. And if I hadn't seen that one singular article, I'd be like, this is nuts. These are swap deals. How are they getting away with it? And it's stuff like that fuels the sort of conspiracy theories, which, look, would probably exist anyway, but I think it adds fuel to the fire when actually there is information there showing that no, there is other things to be taken into account, and that's always been the way long prior to this deal. So I think it's an important point actually to bring up, Patrick, for people who maybe wouldn't know about that, because I wouldn't have otherwise. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see where those chips fall. Gia, hello Gia. Welcome to the chat. Yeah, Flossie, there have been so many players moving that I never thought would happen. I agree. This window has been the window of crazy moves like that. I thought one or other would go to Spurs. I did not think 2 City players would go to Spurs. So while I don't think both Gakpo and McAllister will go to City, I also just can't say definitely not. Because I don't think you can say definitely not to anything in this window the way things are going. Other than Grealish, out of all the deals there we've discussed, what do we think is more likely? Do we think that Gakpo goes to Spurs, goes to City, or stays at Liverpool? Because Liverpool have got Barcola, they still need another winger. If they don't get another winger, do they keep Gakpo? I mean, to be fair, they need someone for the right and he plays on the left. But do we think Gakpo doesn't go anywhere? Which probably starts a bit of a thing for Ndiaye. Do Spurs then decide to come in for Ndiaye if they can't get Gakpo? Does that end up with a third runner in that race? So let me know what ones do you think are the most likely, other than Grealish to Everton, which I think we probably mostly agree on. Do we think Ndiaye moves? Maybe he stays at Everton. Does he move? If he does, to where? Should Arsenal abandon the Alvarez thing with 3 days to go and potentially get Ndiaye, or risk not getting anybody because they've hedged their bets on Alvarez and then maybe that doesn't happen? Patrick says, I think Gakpo stays. The squad is already short. You can't make it more threadbare. That's where I'm at. I feel like if Liverpool don't get another winger, I would question whether they let Gakpo go. If he goes, I would be very curious to see where. I think, what do you think of the McAllister thing? It doesn't seem to be any way advanced. There has been formal contact or formal inquiries. Do you think do you think that's paper talk? Do you think it's like a nonsense story? But I mean, it doesn't feel like a nonsense story. Like, it's from a very reliable journalist. Do you know, DiMarzio's not like some far-flung journalist. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't, I don't know, correct me, but I don't feel like he's the journalist that normally just says random things for the sake of it. So I genuinely think that would be a much better idea for City than Enzo Fernandez. I just don't know if it feels in any way realistic, if that makes sense. Patrick is saying the Alvarez deal for Arsenal seems weird. Alvarez only wants Barca. Why get a player that doesn't want you? That's how I feel, Patrick. That's exactly how I feel. I wouldn't want him. I wouldn't want him with a stick. Absolutely no, thank you very much. But we had Ashraf on the show last night. We've had some of the Arsenal fans in the chat with us on previous days, and some of them have said we don't want him, and some of them have said, look, even if he comes for a year, 2 years, he comes in, we win the Champions League, or we win a double, or we go back to back, and then in 2 years' time, he goes off to Barcelona. We've got what we want, he gets what he wants, we don't really care. which I can understand. It's not how I feel. I just wouldn't want it. But I can understand their thinking. They're like, if he gives us what we want to get, we don't mind then that he gets what he wants out of it too. We're cool with that. If everybody understands when he's here, he's fully committed, he gets us what we want to get, and then he moves on, we don't mind that. So it's not how I would think about it, but I can understand where they're coming from. Bonker says a right winger in and then Gakpo goes. I think if you get a right winger, and you're clearly trying to find one, if you get a right winger, then I think he goes. I think he probably goes to City, despite Spurs doing all of the work. Which means then where does Ndiaye go? Because I think he probably does go. Because that's what he sort of said. Remember at the time when he stayed, we said, look, he said he wants to stay in the Premier League and essentially improve or grow in the Premier League, which to me tells me, look, he probably wants a bigger move, but within the Premier League. And that's why we suggested Arsenal at the time. So, yeah, I'll be interested to see. Patrick says, McAllister obviously wants to move, but like the chat said, why sell to a Premier League rival? For him, I always felt he wants a move away from the Premier League. He struggled with the pace of the league last season. Thing is, at City, I don't think he would need to have pace because there's other players there with pace. I think he would be there to be more like the sturdy midfielder, the kind of solid midfielder, rather than to be pacey. So it might suit him better what he wants to do, but you might be right, he might just want out of the Premier League. All Boxed Up says Alvarez seems a means to an end for him, not Arsenal. Yeah, look, as I said, it's not, I wouldn't want to be taking in a player that feels that way. I wouldn't want Tonali saying stuff he was saying either. I just wouldn't want it. I don't feel like I need a player that's been like a diehard Man United fan all their life. But I do feel like I need a player that's like wants to come to us. They have to be like wanting to come. And I just don't feel like Alvarez wants Arsenal. I feel like if he goes to Arsenal, it's like, well, I can't have what I want. So you're better. It's like the best of a bad choice. I feel like he's like, well, I can't get the thing I want and I can't stay here, so I might as well go to Arsenal. You'll do. And look, there's people who have said, look, he's a very professional player. When he gets there, he'll put his all in, etc., etc. I don't know him personally, so I can't say either way. Based on what I'm seeing in public, I'm not sure I would call him exceptionally professional. He was at the World Cup begging to go to their biggest rival. I'm not sure I would say that's uber professional, personally. But what do I know? So, not for me. I can understand where the people are coming from, but it wouldn't be for me. Yeah. Patrick, we had that with Di Maria, with Sanchez. It creates unneeded tension from the start. And I think it unsettles a very settled dressing room. I think it unsettles where Arsenal's power comes at the moment is in their stability. It's in their structure, in their structure, in their stability, in their consistency. And I think by bringing Alvarez in, knowing that he's going to go in a season or two, even if you achieve the things you achieve, I think it derails you then potentially for several seasons afterwards. I do think it upsets the dressing room. I think it makes a bit of a mess. If I'm honest, I think it makes a bit of a mess. It wouldn't be for me. It would not be for me. But essentially what we're waiting on is, with all of those interlinked moves, we're waiting for one domino to fall. And then I think the rest go. Because I think Alvarez might be the domino. If Arsenal decide, right, we've had it with Alvarez, we're done waiting, they go for Ndiaye, City then go harder for Gakpo, which leaves Spurs feeling around for somebody. If City are focused on Ndiaye, they're not going to be focused on Enzo, which means Chelsea more and more are just going to be like, lads, no. Which means, do they then go harder for McAllister? But if Gakpo has already gone to Spurs, do Liverpool just go, no, we're not selling McAllister? So I think it's all going to be timing, and I think it's going to be who goes first. I do think it's a bit of a race, and I think it's about who's the fastest, who goes first. Patrick says it also makes fans question any poor performance as them not wanting to be there, even though players can have bad games. Exactly. If he has an off game, just because he's a human being, people go, oh, you can see his attitude. Look at his body language. You can see it in his face. He doesn't want to be there. He's not committed to the project. And off you go. Yeah, 100%. 100%. There is one thing I want to finish up with, guys. It's not to do with any of those dominoes, but I keep talking about Aston Villa. I keep talking about how Aston Villa have been ravaged. Aston Villa are so threadbare for players. Aston Villa have lost an enormous amount. They've not replaced it properly. Aston Villa are in trouble. I keep saying this. And so I just wanted to discuss, and this, by the way, Sky Sports put this out yesterday morning. I only saw it this morning, but they put it out yesterday morning. This is a list of the players that have left Aston Villa, okay? Morgan Rogers, Ezra Konsa, Yuri Tielemans, Daniel Malin, Lucas Digne, Jadon Sancho, Douglas Luiz, Emi Martinez, and Ollie Watkins. They've lost half of their first team, guys. I have been told so many times that Newcastle have been ravaged because they lost 3 players. Villa have lost 9. Most of them first teamers. And I seem to be the only person on the internet that's talking about it because Unai Emery. I'm sorry, he's lost 9 players. And let me see if I can find an update on Leon Bailey, because maybe that deal's off. Leon Bailey to Ajax, on or off? Because that could go to 10. So there's still talks ongoing with Ajax about Leon Bailey leaving as well. That would bring it to 10, guys. 10, if he goes as well. So I understand they brought in a good keeper in Manzambi. I understand they've brought in Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who I rate. I understand they've brought in Manzambi, who looks like good potential. I understand they have a young chap, 17 years of age, by the name of Majo, right? And they brought in Nicholas Jackson. Well done. Do I think that equates to the 9, potentially 10 players that they've lost? No. So, I do not want to hear the word decimated, ravaged, or anything else again unless it's in relation to Aston Villa, because how this is just being overlooked is actually starting to really irritate me. And I would like to thank Sky Sports Premier League for putting this together, because I don't know why nobody else is talking about it. Patrick, who's left? Victor Lindelof, Tyrone Mings, McGinn, Garnacho. I mean, who wouldn't win the league with that? Patrick says, if Emery can do anything after that, it would be a miracle. I fully 100% agree. But guys, the reason I brought it in is not just to say I told you so. It is to say, look, when I put things out there, I do go and check the facts. So I run on vibes, I check the things. When I've checked, I do go and actually check the valid information as well. I don't just make things up in my head and then go, well, that's a fact. I'll say what I think and then I'll check it against the actual information. The information is they've lost 9 and they're potentially going to lose the 10th. They're in trouble, okay? But on that very happy note, I started on a happy note about Man United. I finished on a happy note about Aston Villa. And in the middle we played some dominoes. You can think that all you want, Huge, but I think you're off your rocker. Huge thinks Villa will still finish above Newcastle. I mean, maybe he'll be right. I think that's crazy. They've lost 9 players. They're in the middle of losing another one. But they're I don't know. Maybe Unai Emery's magical powers I don't know about. Maybe. Or Maybe Yesel isn't as good as I think he's going to be. Maybe he's going to be another, whatchamacallem, from Chelsea. What was his name? The Chelsea guy. The guy they brought in last season. They got sacked after Maresca. Liam Rosenior. I was like, what is his name? Maybe Yesel is going to be another Liam Rosenior. I just don't think so, though. I don't think so. All Boxed Up says, hopefully Villa are competitive this season. Point of note, Villa can't afford to be relegated as the EFL have a sanction hanging over them regarding finances, regarding the ground, to have points deducted. Oh, I didn't know about that. I don't think they'll be relegated. I don't know if I'd go that far. I don't think they finish in the top 10, though. I really don't see it. If Unai Emery actually manages to do something, if Unai Emery finishes in the top 10 this season, I'll be very impressed. Like, genuinely very impressed, because what he's lost is nuts. And as Flossie says, they're also in the Champions League. If they finish in the top 10, I will be highly impressed. Really and truly, and I'll give him all the credit. I can't see it. Tom, thank you very much, Tom, for reminding me, because actually I would have forgotten. But today we're not raiding today. Today you're being redirected to the watch along. But thank you for reminding me. Remind me later, Tom, if you're in the watch along, because obviously I won't be redirecting to myself then. So remind me later and I'll redirect. But thank you very much for reminding me, because I would not have remembered. No, do you know what? All Boxed Up. I don't wish any team to be relegated, even like rivals, non-rivals. I don't mind. I would never look at a team and go, well, I hope they get relegated, because that's drastic. Don't get me wrong. I hope my rivals all lose, like, do you know what I mean? But in reality, I only want them to lose more than me. I would never look at any club and go, I hope they get relegated. It feels a bit nasty. Feels a little nasty. Let me see. So, guys, gals, teacups, we have reached the end of the show. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your likes. I appreciate All Boxed Up with the super sticker of the afternoon. Thank you very much, All Boxed Up. If you have not hit the like button on the way in, please hit the like button on the way out. I would appreciate that massively. Hopefully I will see you all later for our watch along. Football's back. Another weekend of football. Very exciting. And yeah, have a good afternoon, people.